Let me the introduction and then we can get started.
Sure. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Welcome everybody to the Planning and Zoning Commission, August 8th, 2023 meeting. This is a web-based meeting, so we are operating under the following procedures. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. The video recording will be available within 24 hours and will be posted on the Town of Waterford's Planning Department website. To ensure good sound quality, the default rule for this meeting is that everyone will remain on mute unless they are speaking. If an attendee creates an audio or video disruption, the Zoom moderator may place them on mute or remove them from the meeting if the disruption continues. We will not use a chat feature in this meeting. We appreciate your attendance. Should you have any questions about the process, you may call our staff at 860-444-5813 between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. And with that, I turn over to the chair.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Welcome everyone to the meeting. Shouldn't be too long tonight. So it looks like Karen is not here, or is she here?
Karen is not here.
Okay, Karen's not here. So Bert, we're going to put you as a member in place of Karen tonight.
Very good.
Good. Okay, great. How about number 2, approval of minutes for the July 11th, 2023 meeting minutes? Have anybody to approve those?
I'll approve and make a motion to approve.
A motion made by Tim, seconded by somebody,
I'll second Tim's motion.
by Victor to approve the minutes. All in favor? Aye.
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 Aye. Just abstain.
Okay, 4-0 with Bert abstaining. Okay, item number 3 is application receipt. Do we have any applications to receive? Mark?
We do not.
Is John here tonight?
John is out this week.
Okay, great. So item number 4 is application review, number PL 23-10, request of Kincora Waterford LLC, applicant and owner for modified site plan approval for a restaurant for property located at 122 and 124 Boston Post Road, PDD-1 zone, in accordance with sections 19 and 30.1 of the zoning regulations, and as shown on plans entitled Phase 2 Site Plan for 122, 124 Boston Post Road, Waterford, Connecticut. Action required by 8/31/23. And it looks like we have Attorney Sweeney here and his team. So we'll just, Mark, do you have anything to say beforehand before I turn it over to him?
Nope, I think they can go ahead and get started.
Okay, great. Welcome, Attorney Sweeney and your team.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. For the record, my name is Bill Sweeney. I'm a land use attorney and a partner at the law firm of Tobin Carberry in New London, Connecticut. And as always, I appreciate the opportunity to appear before all of you. I represent Kincora Waterford LLC, which is a Connecticut limited liability company, and is the owner of the Aldi's Plaza located at 122 and 124 Boston Post Road in Waterford. My client tonight has applied for a site plan approval for phase 2 of the Aldi's Plaza master design plan, which consists of a 2,325 square foot Chipotle restaurant upon the last remaining vacant development pad on the site. My client previously obtained a zone change and master plan approval in May of 2016 under your plan design district regulations for this property, which created a flexible zoning district known as the PDD-1. That district is governed by a detailed approved master plan, which is still in effect today. That approved master plan sets forth specially tailored bulk and dimensional requirements for this particular property, as well as a list of possible uses and other applicable design standards, including, in this case, allowing restaurants as a permitted use by site plan approval. Joining me tonight is the rest of my team. I have Brian McCarthy. Brian is a project civil engineer with RJ O'Connell and Associates. He actually did the initial phase 1 development, which was the Aldi's supermarket. I also have Bill McCabe and Mark Mancuso joining me. Bill and Mark are principals with Kincora Waterford, and they're no strangers to the town of Waterford, Both Bill and Mark were intimately involved in the development of the Waterford Commons project on Route 85. They obviously developed the first phase of the Aldi's Plaza project. They've got a good reputation and are here in Waterford and know the community very well. I would remind you tonight that this is not a special permit application. This is not a public hearing, but we're going to try to be as brief as possible, but still provide you an overview of our proposal, which has been reviewed by your staff and all applicable city departments, town departments and agencies, so that you can review our compliance with your site plan requirements and consistency with the 2016 master plan that was approved. I'm going to try to provide you some background on the application, going to highlight a few key aspects of the project, and again, focus on those issues of compliance. Mr. O'Connell is going to review the phase 2 project layout with you and the engineering details for phase 2, which include parking, stormwater, utilities, and landscaping. And then Mr. McCabe is going to come up and he's going to walk you through the architectural designs for the new restaurant and some renderings that we've commissioned at the request of your staff to help illustrate what the new restaurant's going to look like from Boston Post Road at this location. I think those are pretty attractive drawings. We're excited to share those with you. And finally, I'll just quickly conclude the presentation tonight with a review of your criteria for decision. So if at this time, if we could give Brian McCarthy control of the sharing so that he can put the plans up, and I'll go through the first couple slides and then turn the rest of them over to him. We could do that now.
Yep, okay. Should be all set, Brian.
Can you see that?
Looks good. Thank you, Brian. So as many of you are likely aware, this property where the Aldi supermarket is today was formerly owned by the Picardi family, a long and well-known family standing here in Waterford. It was occupied by a bowling alley and then a bank along the Boston Post Road frontage. That bank today is M&T Bank. It's gone through a couple name changes over the years. Back in 2016, and I don't think any of the current commissioners were sitting at that time on the commission, but back in 2016, I guess maybe we might have had one, so I apologize. Back in 2016, my client optioned the property from the Picardi family, and they approached the town with a concept to tear down the bowling alley, maintain the bank, and then redevelop the balance of the site for new commercial use. Now, due to the lack of frontage and other site constraints, we really worked closely with staff at the time with the commission to develop a somewhat flexible master plan for the site using the provisions of your planned development district regulations. The commission actually approved our master plan and zone change of the site to PDD 1 in May of 2016. And then just a few months later, we returned in August of 2016 and obtained site plan approval for phase 1 of the project, which consisted of the Aldi supermarket grocery store, which, as I think many of you know, has been extremely successful here in Waterford, and also to develop the access infrastructure and utility infrastructure for the entire project. Now, at the time of the master plan approval, we had not secured tenants for the other vacant development pads in the development, which we refer to as phase 2, and which was outlined on that aerial photo that we showed a second ago. The phase 2 site is somewhat unusually shaped. It's somewhat long and it's very narrow. And it's located on the western side of the property, adjacent to the Ocean State job lot. And so that's really the site we're going to be developing tonight, and we're going to be talking about tonight. We'll go to the next slide. So this is actually the master plan that was approved in 2016 for the project. And because we didn't have tenants for the phase 2 area, to be safe, we proposed a fairly intensive conceptual development of that area with about an 8,000 square foot retail building to the right of the Aldi's supermarket, and then a 4,300 square foot restaurant out front near Boston Post Road. We also had, included in our applications, the ability to do a drive-through window on that front restaurant site as well. We showed and we demonstrated that the site could support that level of development. We actually did a 2016 traffic study that basically contemplated a worst case scenario where the entire 4,300 square foot restaurant out front would be a restaurant coffee shop. and with a very busy drive-through operation like a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts. And the commission reviewed our master plan, reviewed our traffic study, and they improved this intensive level of development at that time. So we go to slide 3 now, Brian. Well, 7 years have now passed, and over that period, we did have discussions with a number of potential tenants for phase 2, but we weren't able to put anything under actual lease agreement until spring of this year. And when we had a deal with Chipotle that materialized, as we have entered into a lease agreement with Chipotle for the site. This would be obviously contingent on your approvals of the project, but the agreement calls for the construction of a 2,325 square foot building, a restaurant on the phase 2 development pad. And we've been working since early this spring. We've been working with your staff on the design of the project, the architectural treatment of the building, and other important issues related to development, and particularly landscaping. And as I know, it's an issue of great importance to the chairman, the aesthetics of the project from the main road. So we wanted to make sure that we were adding something really positive to the view corridor along Boston Post Road. So we're here tonight before you to seek site plan approval for the phase 2 project. Now, obviously on a site square footage basis alone, this is a change from our master plan. And it's a major change in that it's a major reduction in the intensity of the development. We've removed that 8,100 square foot retail building altogether from the plan, and the restaurant has been cut effectively in half in terms of square footage. Furthermore, you'll see on this plan, it looks like there's a drive-through window going around the building, but it's not actually a drive-through window. As some of you may be aware, if you visited a Chipotle does not do drive-through. What they have is a digital order pickup window where you actually on your app can order your burritos or your tacos or your other Mexican food, and it will actually give you a time where you pick it up. And so this travel aisle with the escape lane around the building is not a traditional drive-through. There's not the ability to drive up and place an order. There's no order board or speakers, but rather you pull up when your app tells you to pull up and you can pick up your food and go. In Chipotles across the country, these types of pickup windows are used. They have longitudinal studies about the amount of traffic that's generated here. I think, and Brian will correct me if I'm wrong when he gets to his part of the presentation, but in the 95th percentile, there'll be less than 4 cars in this aisle at any one time. So 95% of the time, there'll be less than 4 cars in this queue. Obviously, the travel way is much longer than that, but it's a fraction of what a typical drive-through would actually include. I think the other thing I want to point out in the project layout that you see here, and Mr. McCarthy will go through that with you in detail in a few moments, all of the bulk and dimensional requirements of the PDD1 are fully complied with this plan, or they're met or they're exceeded. And we've taken great lengths, and you're going to see tonight that to make sure that our landscaping, our architecture, and all of our other design components of the project are consistent and compatible with the overall Aldi's Plaza development. We don't want the Chipotle building to be out on its own and look completely out of place here. It's going to look like it's part of a unified, cohesive development. And we'll show you how we did that, particularly with the architecture. Now, I do want to point out, because I know you don't have a lot of planned development district development in town, that there are regulations about changes to your master plan. Clearly, the plan that we're putting for you tonight is different than the master plan we showed in 2016. But your regulations make it very clear that we can make changes to a master plan, provided that they are not substantial or material. And the regulations go as far as to define what substantial and material is. So just so everyone's on the same page, a substantial or material change is one that has a defined percentage increase in lot coverage, it increases building height, it reduces overall parking, it reduces landscaping, it reduces building setbacks, or it redesigns street intersections. The site plan that we're going to show you tonight does none of that. So it does not meet the standard as a substantial or material change. In fact, our lot coverage decreases we maintain our building height. We actually increase by a few spaces the amount of parking that's provided. We certainly increase the landscaping that's proposed. We maintain our buildings setbacks, or in the case of the restaurant, enhance them to Boston Post Road, and we certainly maintain all of our existing street intersections. So we don't need to revisit the master plan. We don't need to amend the master plan. This project, this implementation of phase 2 is completely consistent with the PDD regulations. I want to also say in the record, I don't know if I know it's referenced in Mark's staff report, is that while the regulations don't require a traffic study for a site plan, we went ahead and did a traffic memo for this project. And so we actually had the same traffic engineer who did the master plan in 2016 update his work. And what his updated memo certifies is that the traffic generation from our phase 2 today in 2013 is significantly lower, literally 5 times lower than the traffic generation that was predicted in 2016 for the more intensive phase 2 development. We also had him look at background traffic in the area. There's been some other development in this part of town, and whether the project still worked with what was going on Boston Post Road in particular. And in fact, the assumptions that were made in 2016 were extremely conservative. And what he believed to be the traffic flow in 2016 is actually far more than what's being actually observed today. And so there's no question that this project will work from a traffic perspective in the surrounding road networks and intersection. And it's much better a situation than what was predicted in 2016 with the retail building and the larger restaurant. So at this point of the evening, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Brian McCarthy from RJ O'Connell. Brian's going to walk you through the layout and talk about engineering details. And like I said before, Bill McCabe will come up and go through the building and some of our renderings, and then I'll sort of finish up after that. But with that, I'll turn it over to Brian.
Thanks, Bill. For the record, Brian McCarthy with RJ O'Connell and Associates, civil engineers for the project. And as Bill mentioned, the current phase 2 plan is now this single Chipotle building with a pickup window and a pickup lane. And Bill had outlined the operation of the pickup lane and how it's not a typical drive-through type of use. So with this operation of the pickup lane and the pre-ordering and so on that goes with it, the average queue in the pickup lane is typically 1 to 2 vehicles. And Bill was right in terms of the 95% of the time, there's going to be less than 4 cars in that queue based on similar store data. The pickup lane layout on this plan can accommodate significantly more than 4 cars, as you can see on the plan. In terms of the layout of the site, the shape of the site and operation of the pickup lane result in the front of the building facing into the site and facing the parking area, with the rear facing the street. We know that's not a typically preferred option, but in this case, we'll be adding landscape screening and architectural features to the rear of the building, landscaping to screen and improve the view from the street side. And I'll go over that landscaping shortly. In terms of the previously approved project, that previously approved project included 160 parking spaces total on the site. This Chipotle layout will involve a new layout of the parking in the phase 2 area, and the final parking count will be 166 parking spaces. So we'll be adding a few more spaces total on the site. The parking area will include accessible parking as required by ADA and state building code. We'll also be including future electric vehicle parking spaces. We'll include the infrastructure for those. There's going to be 4 spaces provided with charging stations. Access to the site remains the same as today. There's a full access signalized driveway on Boston Post Road. and a one-way exit onto Minor Lane. Access in and out of the Chipotle parking area and the pickup lane is located well into the site, so there will be no vehicle turning or maneuvers near the main driveway intersection. The access and circulation drives are designed to accommodate emergency vehicles. We had fire truck simulation software used to ensure that fire trucks can circulate through the site and around the parking area. The access and circulation was reviewed and discussed with the police and fire departments, and their comments were included in the design. The on-site traffic circulation will be well defined by the traffic controls, both mounted signage and painted signage on the pavement. Pedestrian connectivity was a key component of the design, and the layout and design will include sidewalks from Boston Post Road in through the site to all the buildings on the site, and appropriate crosswalks and signage related to crosswalks. With regard to trash collection, on the top right of this plan, right north, there's an enclosed trash enclosure area that will be a masonry enclosure with gates to accommodate the required receptacles for trash and recycling. With regard to site lighting, the Aldi project included all new LED site lights on the property. And with the Chipotle layout, we would just require some relocation of some of the pole fixtures that are out there today. And we'll be adding a couple of pole mounts. The next plan I'm going to show is the landscaping plan. So the layout includes landscaped islands that will help define the traffic circulation and protect pedestrian on sidewalks. The parking rows will have end-cap landscaped islands, and approximately 20% of the parking area will be landscaped and green space. Trees will be planted throughout the site in the parking islands and around the perimeter. And as can be seen from this plan, a significant amount of shrubs will also be planted around the site. The trees to be planted will include red maple, skyline honey locust, and pin oaks. And a main focus of the landscaping is the area between Boston Post Road and the building. As I mentioned, the shape of the site and operation of the pickup lane result in the front facing into the site and the rear facing the street. So we worked closely with the planning staff, town planning staff, to come up with a design that includes landscape screening of the rear of the building and pickup lane area from the street. And also it includes additional architectural features to improve the view from the street. The design included the suggestions and comments from the planning staff in the design. The landscape screening between the building and the street will include arborvitaes planted at 7 to 8 feet tall. And the area between the street and the pickup lane will include a 4-foot-high ornamental picket fence and numerous shrubs that include hicks, yew, inkberry, and ornamental switch-type grasses. So the area between the Boston Post Road, the pickup lane, and the building will be well screened with landscaping.
Brian, do you think, I don't mean to interrupt, but do you think you could zoom in on that area between the building and Boston Post Road so the commission could see a little bit more the extent of the landscaping that we're providing? Thank you.
All right, here we go. Yep, so zoomed in here. You can see the line that runs across here is the 4-foot-high ornamental picket fence. And then we'd have a lot of shrubs between the fence and the street, inkberries and switchgrass. And also we're going to have dogwood trees and more inkberry type trees on the other side of the fence. As we get closer to the building, there will be, from a utility standpoint, we're going to have a pad mount transformer that's required for power to the building, and it's located in this box area with the T. Surrounding that area, we will have the 7 to 8 foot tall arborvitae trees to screen that area. Also in the landscaping here, we'll have, and it's outlined in these kind of shaded hatched areas, there's going to be numerous types of perennial plants as well. All right, so the next page here is just an overview really of, I just want to quickly point out what we're doing with the stormwater system. So the stormwater system designed and constructed as part of the Aldi project included the development of this phase 2 area. The system was designed in accordance with the Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual and designed to improve the quality of runoff discharging from the site, reduce the peak rates of runoff, and infiltrate stormwater to recharge the groundwater. The proposed Chipotle layout and design will just require some minor modifications to the original stormwater design, but the overall system remains the same as approved. That stormwater system includes several BMP quality water quality treatment devices, such as catch basins with deep sumps and hoods, a subsurface detention and infiltration system. There's the blue box area here. And that system consists of a StormTech infiltration chambers. The whole system captures and treats all stormwater runoff from the impervious surfaces prior to its outlet from the site. The infiltration system will also include what's called isolator rows for sediment removal and water quality treatment. And the whole system will achieve the required total suspended solid removal requirement. The impervious area on the site pretty much remains similar to the approved project, previously approved project. And when the Aldi was constructed and opened and the stormwater system was operating, there was a stormwater operation, maintenance, and pollution prevention plan implemented at that time. And that operation and maintenance plan remains the same with this design and continues to be implemented to ensure the ongoing inspection and maintenance of the stormwater system. The Chipotle, as part of the Aldi project originally that was constructed, we did leave utility stubs, water and sewer stubs to the phase 2 area, and they will be used to connect to the Chipotle building. The Chipotle, as it is a restaurant, will require a grease trap. So we're including a 2,000 gallon grease trap for the Chipotle, which is designed in accordance with the regulations. And as I mentioned, we'll have a transformer required in this area for electric service. Electric service will come from underground from Boston Post Road to poles in Boston Post Road to that transformer and then into the building. And also the gas and communication services will also run in from Boston Post Road to the building. When we did receive review comments on the project that we had addressed and included in here in the final design. Several of which were from the environmental planner are related to enhanced sediment controls and the required and appropriate field inspections and as-built records that will be required at the end. So the plans do include those requirements and notes on there. With that, I will turn it over to Bill McCabe to talk about the architecture.
Thank you, Brian. Again, my name is Bill McCabe, and along with my partner, Mark Mancuso, we're the principals in Kincora Waterford LLC and the developers of the site. Back in 2017, we did the initial Aldi's, and now we're coming before you with the Chipotle. The Chipotle before you, this is not the prototypical Chipotle. The prototypical Chipotle is a EIFS box with a steel-clad tower. And in order to ensure that this adhered to the master plan and was compatible with the adjacent Aldi's, We deleted the metal on the tower, added a compatible brick in both color and type to what's on the Aldi, and then wrapped that around most of the building, tweaked the colors a bit, and got a building that we think is much more compatible with the existing Aldis, and yet still kept the fog colored top band for Aldi, which is their prototype, along with their signage. So you'll see in the upper left on the screen, that is the rear of the building. And opposite that, the upper right, is the front. Now, this site, as Brian and Bill have both mentioned, is very tight. And when we met with the planning staff in February, their major concern at the time was that what you're seeing from Boston Post Road is that rear elevation. And they wanted to see what we could do to mitigate that. And we did a few things. In addition to the landscaping that Brian mentioned out front, we actually pushed the building back by over 20 feet, which created a much larger area in front of the rear of the Aldi, which enabled us to add the landscaping that Brian referred to. So that, in effect, we're not only screening the rear of the house from Boston Post Road, but also from anybody that's driving around to go pick up their orders. Staff also commented that they wanted us to break up the mass of the building. And you'll see in the middle of the elevation, it's a prefabricated metal aluminum posts with a color to match the red brick. You'll see some faux windows on the rear exterior. Then, the major item that the staff was concerned with on the prototype was a rear access ladder that provided access to the roof of the building. And in order to accommodate staff and screen that ladder, we added a faux wall that comes out from the rear of the building in the same materials. So you can't really tell that it's there. I think, Brian, if you switch to the next slide,
Bill,
Yeah,
if you
sorry,
go back just one, if you look in the bottom elevation, this is the side of the building that you will see as you drive in.
there you go.
You see the faux wall there and the ladder behind it, which won't be visible from Boston Post Road.
Thank you, Bill.
No problem.
So staff also wanted to understand how the landscaping that we proposed would effectively screen both the rear of the building and any cars that are going through the pickup lane. And I think what we've shown here does a great job of showing that in detail, where the top one it's a little bit higher than at car level. And you can see that the shrubs, and I think this is, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, like a 5-year growth, or is this
Yeah,
a 3-year growth?
Yep, it's about 5 years in, yeah.
Okay. That does a good job of screening basically all the dark gray of the Chipotle building, and you can see the top of the signage. And
I will
we
say,
think actually enhances the overall look from Boston Post Road.
yeah, I will say the arborvitaes that are represented here are pretty close to what they're going to be planted. They're going to be 7 to 8 feet tall at plant.
Okay. And then when you go down a little bit, Brian, I think this scheme does a better job of, you can actually see the shadowing of the screening of the roof ladder, as well as the screening of the back of the house, if you will, by pushing the building back and creating that additional landscape area right near the rear of the building. Am I missing anything, Bill?
No, I don't. I think that's a good explanation. And again, working with John and Mark, I think there was an acknowledgement that we had a very narrow site, and this user required the delivery or the online delivery pickup window. And to get those lanes around the building, this is the only orientation of the building that worked from a design standpoint. So, what we did is we really partnered with your staff to come up with a solution, both physical in terms of the building design and also with landscaping and the location of the building on the site, so that when you drive by this site, you'll have this beautiful landscaped frontage, and you'll really only see that fog colored strip on the top of the building with the Chipotle logo on it. And I think that's really what we tried to achieve through the landscaping process. So with that, that concludes the majority of our presentation tonight. I would just make a few final comments, and then we can open it up for any questions that the commission has. As you know, your charge tonight is under the regulations is to review our site plan application for compliance with the zoning requirements for the PDD1 zone. And I think your staff report indicates that Mark has confirmed that we are compliant with those both in dimensional and design standards that are in the PDD1. Unlike special permit, this isn't a qualitative review. If you meet the requirements, the applicant is entitled to approval. I would point out that we've submitted additional information above and beyond what we were required to, including the traffic study that we submitted, or the updated traffic study that we submitted to confirm the assumptions that we made in 2016, and quite frankly document the much lower traffic generation and impact to the surrounding area that this version of phase 2 will have. I think overall, from my perspective, this is a much less intense project, a lot more sensitively designed, with a lot more, quite frankly, landscaping than was proposed in the original master plan or in phase 1. And I think it'll make a better overall site, but one that's still compatible with all these. And it looks like it's all part of the same plaza. I would also note for the record that we did get a variety of review comments from city departments, town departments and agencies. As Brian has stated, to date, we've addressed every single one of them. We addressed all of Mark's comments as well. So we believe this application is in a position where it is ready for action tonight. And we're excited and anxious to get going. We hope to have this completed if we get approval tonight. We hope to have this completed in the spring of 2024, so our new tenant can move in. So again, I want to thank you for your time and attention tonight. Brian, myself, and Bill McCabe and Mark are all available if you have any questions about the project or the design. Thanks.
Thank you, Attorney Sweeney. Does anybody have any questions on this?
So this is Bert. May I ask a couple of questions, please?
Sure.
Can you go back to one of your original drawings to project from when you first started introducing the project for everybody? I'm concerned about, go forward. There we go, this one. Yes, I'm a little bit concerned about what I perceive to be a crosswalk between the bank and the Chipotle. It's about yeah, that's it. Is that actually a crosswalk? Because it looks like a crosswalk to nowhere.
That is an existing crosswalk. That is, the painting is probably just left on there. It was on the ground, so it's not leading to it. Yeah, so we would not run a crosswalk to the landscape.
Oh, okay, so that's going to get extinguished somehow or something.
Yes, we will not have that. I'm sorry, that shouldn't have been shown on there.
Okay, I was going to ask if you could at least put a sidewalk through your landscaping to allow someone who would actually use that to access the back front of your building. But okay, that's good. So I was reading some of the comments, and particularly while the fire commissioners approved the plan that you have, I have some concerns that in the event of an actual fire or other hazard, that the fire trucks are going to want to stop as close as they can to the building, which effectively is in the driveway. So I apologize for not understanding fully how fire planning goes with this, but will whoever the fire response team is that would address any issues here have some written plans or something that would say you can't stop there, you have to drive all the way in through the parking lot area in the back of the building?
If I can answer that, I'm not answering for the fire department, but certainly they, just from my experience is that, wherever they can get to and provide their service in the fastest manner, most efficient manner, they'll do it. If it includes parking in that driveway, just note that there's an exit. There's another exit out of this site, out on the minor lane. So actually, when the first plan came in for the entire Aldi's project, that was brought up in terms of being able to have another escape route, so to speak, to get out to, for people to get out of the site. But, more directly to answer your question, is that, the fire department is going to whatever means necessary in order to provide a safe, to get to the emergency that they have to get to. And if that includes blocking that entrance, and if that's to be done in the most safe manner, they will provide for that.
I would just agree with Mark's response, and that's my experience being a planner for a number of years and then an attorney. Is the fighters will fight the fire wherever they find it, whether it's a car fire in front of M&T Bank or a fire of the Chipotle or a fire at the Aldi supermarket. They're going to shut down what they feel is necessary. And in fact, that access to minor lane was not an inexpensive access to build, and it was added at the request of the town for emergency access in the case of an emergency at one of the phases of the project. So now I think Mark answered that exactly how I would have as well.
Okay. I guess I just wanted to make sure that people were aware that it was highly likely that they would be probably parking adjacent to the building and not going and winding around trying to get there from the parking lot. The driving access for deliveries, I thought was nicely described and illustrated in some of the supporting data that you provided. I was wondering actually whether it made sense, presumably consistent with the timing of those deliveries, to send them straight out across in front of the Aldi supermarket and down that minor lane exit, as opposed to trying to wind their way back around past the bank to get back out to Boston Post Road.
So one thing about the truck, the deliveries to the Chipotle are pretty much, the deliveries take place at night or when the stores are closed. So there's no traffic on the property when they're delivering. And they're pretty much are delivering with box-sized trucks. More frequent than a tractor trailer type truck. So there shouldn't be any traffic when they're delivering to the store. The concern with, as you mentioned, coming across the Aldi's and down that other exit lane is the geometry of that is pretty tough in terms of a truck going down there. A truck can do it because the fire trucks were related out, so the fire truck could actually go down there. And it's steep, so it wouldn't be a preferred way to send the delivery trucks out that way. And again, I don't think we really need to, because again, it's going to be deliveries on when the stores are closed.
Okay, thanks for that. One last question, if I may. I think it's terrific that you have a escape lane built into the pickup situation, the pickup line there. I was just wondering if it made sense, if it was necessary to have it turn to double lanes so soon down that path, considering that you think there's only going to be at max a 4-car line. Could you go and minimize the 2 double lanes? And apologies to Mark and the team if you guys have already talked all of this through. I obviously wasn't part of that. But I was just wondering if you couldn't have more green area and reduce a little bit that double lane out in front, just to, I don't know, even if it was more screening or whatever, but any thoughts on that?
I would say that so as I was mentioning, like you probably more 95% of the time you might have 4 vehicles sitting in here, which would come back to around where that turn area is. Excuse me. And so so that's kind of why that, that escape lane is starting back here on that turn, just because if you have the 4 vehicles here and somebody wants to abort their pickup or leave, once they're coming around this turn, they need to be able to start moving out around that stack of cars that would be coming back down to that radius. That's kind of how it was determined where to start.
So you think that's that safety requirements basically cause you to need that excess around the front of the building, or where the
around here? Yeah, because of again, you could have 4 cars parked or stacked up in here, and then when you're starting to make that turn, you see that car, then you need to start moving out around it.
Okay, I see where you're going with that. So that's
we would try to keep it, because we were very focused, by the way, on that whole area and trying to get as much landscaping and screening as we could in there. But with that, we just needed that ability to be able to come around, make the turn and come around to get around the other cars.
One last question is there, I didn't see any provisions for freestanding sign. Was there any intention to like piggyback on top of the Aldi sign or anything, or is it just the visual from the road that is going to be sufficient?
I can answer that question in particular. So we would not be piggybacking on the Aldi sign. There is a pre-existing M&T Bank sign with extra space on it. It's existing. There's an additional
there it is.
space on that sign. So it'll be actually on the M&T Bank sign. There'll be a Chipotle sign section, and that's a pre-existing sign that predates the development.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. I will compliment you guys on the Aldi Plaza. I think it's phenomenal. I still, even from 2016, wish that you had made the minor lane exit 2-way, but I do appreciate that this has been just a terrific development. So I will stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chenard. I would just add to that is, while I know it's not something that you can consider in your decision making, Bill and Mark have been longtime commercial developers here in Waterford, and they take great pride in the management and the upkeep of that plaza. And I think you're gonna see that with this project as well. Chipotle is a leaseholder on their property, and so you're gonna see that same level of care and maintenance of the property will extend to phase 2 as well, which I think is just a real positive all around for the community.
Any other questions from anyone? Tim, Vic, Tim? Can you release the screen, please?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. Tim, Vic?
Nothing from me.
Nothing, Tim Bleasdale. Okay, Tim Condorino?
No, I have nothing at this point.
Victor?
I have nothing at this point, Greg.
I just had one question on the back of the thing. I'm not crazy about having the back of the restaurant show on Boston Post Road. So can you show us that that elevation for a second?
Yeah, we'll put it back up for you. You know, effectively, Chairman Masad, our intent was to remove the back by making it look different and screening it. So, you know, that you'll really only see, this is the upper left-hand rendering is the quote unquote rear elevation. But I think based on the landscaping we have, what you will see ultimately as you drive by will just be the fog colored strip on the top. And that dark band will be either fully obscured within a number of years, or even at planting, it's going to be primarily obscured from view. And so I think you're really going to just see that the upper flag strip on that side. And that was really the intention, was so it didn't look like a rear facing you.
And I appreciate covering the ladder and doing it the way you did it. I really think we should, how high is that dark band?
Go back to the last screen. "10 feet, give or take, 10 feet, 10 to 11 feet.
And how high are the bushes supposed to be at planting?
7
7 to 8 feet, yeah.
7 to 8 feet at planting. So you're going to see at planting, you'll see the very top of that gray band, the dark gray band.
And are we going to see the door?
No. The
Not gonna see
door, the door is, you know, the top of window is at 7-11. So this is at 7. So that'll be covered by trees.
Okay. And that window is just a window, just a regular window.
It's a faux window.
Oh, can you just tell me what that is? So you're not going to be able to see in or out of that?
No, that was done to kind of break up the massing. Because right now, that's just the back of the building. There really is nothing to look into.
There's actually like kitchen equipment and stuff on the inside wall in that location. So it looks like a window from the outside, but no, you can't see through it.
Okay. I think we should have at least 8 feet bushes there so that we can't see the back. I mean, I think it's a bad precedent for us to have backs of restaurants facing one of our most visible intersections. And I like the development. I like this development. I like the developers. They're committed to the town. I just think showing the back to a main intersection is not great for the town. If we can do 8-foot bushes guaranteed at planting, I think that, you know, that would help a lot to shield that. You know, we're trying to make it look good for everybody, including this development. Having a back of a restaurant, I have a concern about that.
Bill McCabe, do you have any problem trying to meet the chairman halfway here and agreeing that instead of 7 to 8, that they be 8? We'll just have to make sure we source them properly with our landscaper.
Correct. That's fine.
That's fine. That would be great. If that,
Again, we appreciate you guys working with us. It's a tough site, and we'll handpick those trees and make sure they're 8 feet.
yeah. Okay, that would be wonderful if we can make that a condition as well, because that helps everybody there. We have some good development there, and we want to just make sure it continues to look good. Thank you for the full window and the covering the ladder. That goes a long way toward making it look better. So.
Appreciate it. That's a reasonable modification to approval, sir.
Any other questions from anyone? Okay. Anyone want to make a motion to approve? I would like to see if we can get that modification at 8 feet at planting in there. Anyone want to make a motion?
Before we, I would just like to add one more condition that the Design Review Board had recommended for the commission. One of the members of the Design Review Board noted that they'd like to see a "do not enter" sign added to the exit of the pickup window drive. It's written on the pavement, but he also liked to see some sort of a vertical visual. If your motion can include the addition of the do not enter sign on there, that would be good as well. Right there.
I'm sorry, I had myself on mute. Where is that on that picture?
Sorry.
We'll put it back up. Bear with us for a
All right,
second.
sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
Right,
Use this cursor.
yeah, so with the pickup lane exits into the parking lot, we have a painted do not enter on the ground here on the pavement, but DRB suggested a mounted do not enter sign in here.
That's probably a good idea. Looking at that, I could see people going down the wrong way.
Yep.
Okay, so those two modifications. Anyone want to? Anything else you have, Mark?
No, I mean, just those two conditions, the do not enter sign and 8 feet plantings in the rear. To add to that, and that's all.
Okay, great. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
I'll make a motion to approve with modifications the site plan phase 2 development for Chipotle Restaurant, application PL 23-10 at 122 and 124 Boston Post Road with conditions 1 through 3. And adopt the findings, I believe we're 1 through 6 now. Is that correct? If we add the 2?
No, actually, the conditions would be 1 through 5 to add the 2. Your findings are 1 through 4.
Okay. So I'll backtrack. We'll approve with conditions 1 through 5, 4 being a plant height, arborvitae height of 8 feet at time of planting, and 5 being a upright sign for the drive-through, a do not enter sign as requested by design review, and adopt findings 1 through 4 of the staff report.
Is there a second?
Sure, this is Tim Bleasdale. I'll second that.
Okay, great. Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion on it? No discussion? Okay, one thing I would say is thank you for the development. We appreciate your commitment to Waterford. You do a nice job, and thank you for working with us on the back of the house there.
Oh, okay.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, and no opposed, so 5-0. Thank you. And good luck.
Thank you
with the
very
project.
much. Thank
When
you
do
very
you-
much.
When do you look to be open? When do they
Hopefully
look-
the spring of next year.
Great.
So thank you again, everyone. I hope that you will come and join and get a burrito and some tacos with us.
Have a
Take
good
care.
night.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have number 5, administrative review. Do we have anything?
We don't have anything.
Okay, number 6, correspondence.
Have received none. Nope.
Item number 7, any review of past projects, ongoing projects?
Sure. I just want to update the commission quickly. In our preliminary review process, we have 2 applications. Congregation Bethel from New London purchased a vacant lot on Kenyon Road, and they are into us with a preliminary site plan application to construct a new synagogue. Review comments were sent out to them today. There's wetlands on the property, so chances are they're going to need a wetlands permit before they come in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Haven't
What
they already,
road?
haven't they already started that?
I'm sorry?
Haven't they already started building or clearing?
No, that was actually, there was a house there that was demolished.
Oh,
And that's where that clearing came from. It's vacant now.
What road was that?
This is Kenyon Road, 33.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Secondly, we have a single family coastal area management application in as a preliminary, 11 Scotch Cap Road. And review comments were sent out to the applicant on the 28th of July, and we're just waiting for them to respond to that. The 830 Gion Clark Lane was not appealed. The decision was not appealed. So we received check prints. We reviewed them and sent out comments today. The affordable housing plan that was submitted, as well as the conservation and drainage easements, are under review by the town attorney. So we're waiting on that. And Waterford Central, Willits Avenue, or Myrock Avenue, we still anticipate getting their state traffic permit before the end of this month. That's where we are.
Okay, great. Thank you for the report.
Yep.
Anybody else have any issues, questions, comments? No, I think you saw in the paper recently that there's articles being written about planning and zoning boards and who's making housing decisions, et cetera, and how many vacancies there are in all the commissions in all the different towns. And I think we're probably the only one with a full slate, commission members and alternates. So the commitment's great. I think the town is served well by the commission. So anything else? No, okay. Motion to adjourn.
I'll
Someone?
make that motion.
Okay, thanks, Bert. Seconded by Tim.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 Good. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night.
Right.
Stop recording.